You are listening to the finest radio station, Moods Radio. It's all about moods.
Hello and welcome to Cookie in Conversation. And my guest this week is Jenny Blake, a counsellor and also a therapist. This week we'll be touching on our well-being and mental health during the Christmas period. Welcome, Jenny.
Hi, Cookie. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. 1,000 thank yous for coming in to chat today. Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
I'm just glad to be here because it's something that's forgotten, and it's something that every human goes through or struggles with at some point. I'm Jenny, and I've been counselling now in practice for 2 years. I work with children and young people. I work with adults. I do in private practice as well. Person-centred, there's lots of different modalities to counselling, but person-centred is what I do. There's lots of different things. And again, counselling is unique to each individual, which I'll tell you a bit more about at the end, because it can be really hard to reach out, just tell people what you're struggling with, and searching for someone to speak to, even just in your own life, can be really difficult, Cookie.
I think it's finding the right counsellor for you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So, and that's something that, I always say in my practice is, I'm not the expert, you are, because it's your experience, and everybody's struggles and difficulties are unique. So it's about exploring stuff. It's about, gently challenging things that are coming up, looking at issues, feelings and beliefs, and kind of finding a way to, create a greater independence, or even just find some coping strategies. Could just be a safe space to vent and, download some of those heavy burdens that we carry daily.
I find the Christmas season, your emotions, your well-being is heightened this time of year, causing added stress, anxiety. I've always said mental health doesn't care how old you are. Mm-hmm. Mental health doesn't care what colour you are. Yeah. Mental health doesn't care about what car you drive, what job you have, how much money you've got in the bank. Mental health does not care. Going forward, I always think this time of year, everyone expects how Christmas should be, what they've seen on the media, what they've seen on TV, this presents under the tree and things like that. And in reality, it's not for a lot of people.
No.
For loneliness.
People. And actually, when you say, it really stood out that mental health shows up, when we least expect it. Some days we wake up with it, it doesn't care. It feels like it really just doesn't care. And when you're in that headspace, you feel alone. You really do feel alone in it. And that just adds to the helplessness.
And I think especially the loneliness, if you've got no one to reach out during Christmas, it's heightened. The loneliness. It can be that you don't have anyone to reach out. It can feel just too much to reach out, and there's this like you say, there's this kind of painted picture of the perfect Christmas, and Christmas is this magical, wonderful time that we have to be happy, and it's all about joy and being merry, and even in the messages, Merry Christmas, we just say it so easily, and actually that could really trigger somebody. People need comfort, they need peace, and reaching out is really difficult to anyone, to your close ones, to your loved ones that know you so well. I think many times, I met up with a friend a couple of weeks ago for drinks. There was a couple of us, and she said, actually, I've been going through a really bad time. And she's a good friend. And it was almost, she was like, as she was telling us stuff, she were apologising.
Yeah, shame's attached to it.
It's like, and in this day and age, it's like, but you've got your problems, you're busy, but it's not wanting to pass a burden even.
Yeah, and that's
onto somebody else.
Yeah, we tell ourselves, we have human flaws. We tell ourselves, and again, a lot of time exploring this in sessions or just speaking to people, like you just said, you notice this pressure we place on ourselves. That we can't possibly put this burden on another people. This is even before Christmas comes, but because of all this extra heightened expectation placed, that I can't possibly place this on another person. I can't ruin their Christmas. I've got to put a brave face on. Christmas is the same as every single day. It's the same as what you go through. If you're struggling with mental health, it's no other day than any other day. So why can't you share that?
Yeah, it's like I try and sort out mate dates. Having a laugh and all that. It's so important because even though you have friends that you're close to, you don't realise what they're actually going through.
No, and like you say, connection is so important. What people tend to do is they withdraw at Christmas time. Because they feel this pressure to conform and be a certain way. And then it adds to, unhealthy, negative, intrusive thoughts that we start telling ourselves, oh, I'm letting others down, and I'm letting myself down, and I'm a failure, or I'm not good enough. Why am I like this? These messages take over. And just those connections, accessing. We're so good at beating ourselves up. I mean, again, it's just something that we do every day. I don't know whether you do it, Cookie, but you get home,
I
take your shoes off, you get in. How's your day been?
Yeah, and you just go, it's been good, thank you. And in reality, you think, well, actually, but how many people would stand and listen to your answer?
Yeah,
because it's more of a quick, how are you doing? You all right? And you're gone, aren't you?
Yeah, we're not present.
But that is life, isn't it? Yeah, everyone's busy.
Yeah. So even that can be a barrier. But it's kind of, again, there's another flip side to it. We can get very stuck in negative talking as well. So we can start complaining every day, and again, it's understandable, but we're not really ever heard. It's like, oh yeah, I've had a bad day. The train didn't turn up. This happened. This happened to me. I'm struggling. You can say lots of things on the surface, but you sometimes don't really feel heard, or the other person just goes, oh yeah, sorry, you've had a bad day, and it's shut down. But what we're not good at is accessing the good stuff, which can be really helpful.
Yeah. Obviously, I've spoke about it on my show before. Before I leave work in the morning while I'm washing the pots, put my music on, and I'm dancing and singing for 5 minutes before I go out of the house, and it sets me up for the day.
Yeah, definitely. Music is so universal, and again, many people, when we look at, like, we do lots of different work in our sessions, but sometimes we do like a almost like a support plan or a crisis support plan, and just looking at what lifts your mood, because when you're in a dark place, Cookie, you don't think of these things. They're not accessible because you're just stuck. You're feeling helpless. You can't access it. Your brain shuts off. You're not thinking rationally, and this is part of the stress chemicals that come into your system, and your brain is not working and functioning the same way. But just accessing those positive things, and accessing joy. It's so hard to access those things when you're feeling so low.
I remember trying to describe low mood or a depression. It's like a tunnel that is getting smaller and smaller, and it's blocking out all the good things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And as you move, the tunnel's getting smaller. Yeah. Everyone experiences low mood, depression in different ways.
Yeah.
I don't think obviously you've got your anxiety and everything, there's symptoms of. But I think everyone is unique on how they suffer with depression.
Of course they do. Some people turn to other coping strategies and then again they beat themselves up. Some people withdraw, some people smoke, drink, take drugs, alcohol, and then they're like, oh, I've done this, I shouldn't have done it, it's bad for my health. And actually, yeah, you might have done that, but there's also times when you just need to be kind to yourself and realise, actually, what are you going through? And that's your survival in that moment. You might be unhealthy, yeah, and it might be something you want to work through that you need support with, but, be kind to yourself in these moments of struggle.
Yeah.
And when you say about the tunnel getting smaller, Jen, just that again, like when you say everyone's unique, often these times of deep depression, helplessness, feeling stuck, it's kind of, a lot of people explain feeling like they're drowning, suffocating, feeling on the floor, feeling in a ditch, feeling in a deep ditch, or just chaos, and they just want it all to stop. They want it to stop. They want some peace. They want some peace in some quiet. It's so hard.
Yeah, I think people will say, I want to be me again.
Me again, yeah. A lost sense of self, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Loss and grief comes up often as well in our daily living. But again, at Christmas time, that extra pressure where I have to be something and I'm missing that part of me and it feels out of reach.
I mean, you just touched on grief over the Christmas period, especially if you've lost somebody. Yeah. For me personally, the first Christmas without that person in my life I've never experienced it, and it's kind of, your emotions are out of control.
Yeah.
And it's a strange and alienated feeling, really, isn't it?
Feeling, yeah. And again, it just whacks you in the face, grief, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can be 1 minute laughing, giggling, there, and the next minute it's in floods of tears.
Yeah, because you're grieving. I think, like at Christmas, I think you're grieving for past Christmases.
Past Christmases, yeah. It's like reliving good memories and the loss that you're not going to have that again in the future. So the what was, all your memories that were so nourishing and fulfilling. You've not got access to that anymore. That's so painful.
I mean, I found doing small little things to make it different for me to build new memories.
Yeah,
like I'd for instance, I got a new bauble for the tree, but of happy memories.
Yeah,
and stuff like that, and it's making new memories for your future.
Yeah, definitely. Rebuilding. Yeah. Rebuilding. Yeah. Sorry, Cookie. I was just going to say I can totally relate to that. And one of my recent losses was my nan. And I say recent, it's actually nearly 2 years ago, but it still feels like yesterday. And that's changed everything in our family. Like, she brought our family together at Christmas and just a voice.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
Yeah. So the dynamics of family changes, and then there's a loss, not just of that person, but you're not seeing people as much. And so just everything changes, and that can be really hard to reform and accept or, make new plans that are different without that person, but that are still necessary for making those new memories. Moving forward through it together.
I'm going to touch on the stresses of money as well around this time, affecting your well-being. It's same again like what we said before, social media, TV. I've give you this picture of a perfect Christmas. And for a lot of people, the reality is they're not going to have a lot of money.
Yeah. well, we know what's happened in the last 2 years, don't we, with the cost of living crisis, and I went into a store the other day and was being served in it by a shopkeeper, and I said, oh yeah, I've had a busy day. I was in that mode. I've had a busy day, negative mind. I've still not done all my Christmas shopping, beating myself up. And he said, yeah, well, I'm the same. He said, and another thing, he really opened up and he said, I've had to determine whether I get a Christmas present for someone today or put my electric on, buy an electric card for me, and it's real.
The added stress, mentally and physically as well. Mm-hmm. I just feel there's all that about as well how much a present costs. Yeah. Do you know, as well, the added pressure of, well, you don't think much of me, you've only spent X amount on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's two bits to it, isn't it? There's two bits. So that could be the person who's not feeling valued because they're not getting something that they would help them to feel valued, and so they feel worthless, and so they feel let down and disappointed. And then there's the person on the other side that could be in the shoes of, well, my gosh, is this going to impact our relationship? And I feel not good enough, and this is a real expectation, and I'm useless, and I've got to do this. And it really adds to the pain of it all, really. Yeah, and kind of, why do we put this pressure on ourselves? What is Christmas really all about?
And the pressure of buying for your children as well, or as a parent, trying to buy that special phone that everyone's got. And realistically, like you said, we're at a point where it's either heating, some food, or presents.
Yeah. And again, I spoke to, it was actually a medical professional a few weeks ago, and she was saying her younger one has got this list of things, and she feels under pressure because she has to buy these things because all the other kids have got it, and if she feels obligated that if she doesn't, then she's not being a good parent, because she's letting a child down. And so there's just all these added pressures, adverts, social media, like you say, that we have to do our best. And actually, what is our best?
Yeah. It's also, I kind of think children want more from a younger age now as well. I don't remember being in a junior school and wanting a phone that's going to be 500 quid.
No.
Or, do you know what I mean? So it's starting a lot younger.
Yeah. And that's a big pressure on a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we know how difficult it is just to look after ourselves, let alone a family. And and on top of all this, if you're suffering from depression, this is just piling on top. Yeah. Having to put this mask on that you're okay.
Yeah.
Not breaking, not cracking, because it adds to that. It's your self-esteem, your self-worth.
You want to be strong because you want your kids, your family to have a good time inside. Like you say, you're drowned in, you can't wait for it to end. I think it's the added pressures, isn't it? Of everything.
Definitely.
And at some point, that's going to explode.
Yeah. It's going to explode, or some people, so it could turn out in anger, it could turn out in conflict, it could turn out in breaking down. It could be that I'm so good at avoiding everything and pushing everything down that I start being physically ill. It shows up elsewhere because that's what happens. Yeah. It'll show up in your body. Yeah.
Obviously, maybe lack of sleep through worry of paying everything, and
not eating.
The list is endless, isn't it?
It's a big cycle.
It's sad that we've got to this part in society where we feel we have to be a certain way.
Yeah. And again, we feel we have to be a certain way, and again in a lot of sessions and even self work that I've done with myself, when you really look at it, who are we doing it for?
Yeah.
Because if I asked you, Cookie, if I said to you, when I know you'll have been in a state of, oh God, I've got to be a certain way at some point in your life. If you sat that part of yourself on another chair and said, and they told you what they were going through, and you said, do you really need to be a certain way, or can you just be the way you are? What do you think you'd say?
I suppose when you take your self away from what's actually going on, you're like, what are you doing, girl?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And
so
totally.
we feed our mental health with thoughts.
Yeah.
And that thoughts are one of the most powerful things. And that's how, reaching out can be really helpful to get yourself out your own head and just work through some of it.
As part of my show, I have artists that send me information about messages, should I say, about advice for up and coming artists.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this particular artist called Jazzy Lee's sent advice in and knowledge. And I was reading it, and there was a quote or a saying that says, you can't drink from an empty cup. And I was like, wow. And she's younger than me. And I think to take advice, something like that, it's just really stuck in my head. And you are that cup. And if you're running on empty, you're not going anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good one. Another one I love is, and again, it's what people do. Some people withdraw, but some people, and again, it's sometimes necessary to. It's if you think of it as that metaphor of you drowning, sometimes you need to swim, sometimes you need to tread water, and sometimes if you've run out of breath, you will go under. But yeah, it was I always kind of do the car analogy. If you don't put your petrol in, which is your self-care, if you don't give yourself some of that stuff you need to recharge your batteries, then you're gonna cut out. Your car's going to stop working.
What would be your tips for de-stressing, self-care?
Well, again, it's, every single person is different. Every single person is unique. And so some things work for others and some don't. Some of it's kind of science-based, in that if you practice it enough, it does help. It doesn't fix it, it helps. But I guess for me, I can tell you some of the things that work for me, but it's about, this is the question, what do I need?
Yeah.
What do I need? When you're struggling with mental health, ask yourself what you need. Not just what you need from others, but what do you need? Be selfish, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about me.
It's all about me. I matter.
Yeah.
But just some of the things that I find useful, yoga. I mean, yoga's just, it's about mind, body, breath work, and so it connects you to everything, and it takes you out of thoughts, and focuses you on movement, which is also really important when you're feeling stuck. Exercising, and again, some people are different. Again, some people like to go to the gym and have a proper full workout and proper, go for it. Other people like a light walk, and actually walking is so good for you in so many ways, in even just being with nature. Nature is therapeutic in so many ways.
I'm with that one. And sometimes a stroll, so you can recognise what is around you.
Pause, be present. So that's what it does. So it's things that take you out of your thoughts. It's things that take you out of that stress response that we're in, that's causing us to be in fight, flight, or freeze mode, where you want to either escape. Your body just shuts down and you don't know what to do, and you might zone out, or literally freeze up, or you want to fight, and it's really hard. So nature's so good. Pet time, pets every time,
Oh, yes. I've got my Betty and the cats.
Unconditional love. Yeah. It can do so much, just spending a little cuddle or a walk with your dog or, meditation is another one. Hard initially and doesn't work for everybody, but also really good for you. And again, it just takes you out of some of those, makes you present with yourself, makes you connect with yourself, which is, again, something we avoid when we're feeling so bad.
Yeah.
And the other one, Cookie, is, how we said we're so good at negative talk. It's actually affirming negative beliefs.
Yes.
And so another really good one is positive affirmations and actually practicing gratitude and what we're grateful for, because we're not good at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not, are we? We're very good at knowing what we're not good at and what we struggle with.
Yeah.
And then if somebody says, you know what, I'm really good at that.
Yeah.
I've done that today.
Yeah.
What are you proud of? We don't do that enough to ourselves, do we?
We don't give ourselves credit. So celebrating successes, and if that means you've got up today, then that's a success. You've got up.
Do you know what? And that, for a lot of people, is a win-win. Just actually getting up.
It is.
I don't even mean having a shower. I mean actually getting up is such a big thing.
Yeah. Feeding yourself, things we take for granted, things that help us survive, picking up a phone to somebody, going to work when you feel like you just can't. But also not going to work if you feel like you can't, showing that's something sometimes to be proud of, because you've stopped listening to that voice that's telling you, if you don't do this, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
You've done what you need in that moment, and that's sometimes necessary to get to the next bit.
Definitely.
But positive affirmations is, again, it's really hard initially, but an easy way to try and practice it is by saying things like, I am love, I am care, I am, what would your friend say? Or what would somebody that, that loves you say? If you can't do it to yourself because you're not used to telling myself this, try thinking what they might say about you and build from there.
Would you do a journal?
Journaling's brilliant again.
Because sometimes if somebody sees it in writing, you're like, actually, yes, I am. Yeah. And you start writing, don't you?
Yeah. Good way to download, de-stress, vent. Nobody's going to see it. You can say what you want in there, swear, say whatever you need. It might be about another person. No one's going to be checking in on you. But sometimes people find that a hard thing to do again. So it just depends on what some people like writing, some people find it a chore. So it's not for everybody, but it can be very therapeutic because it's a similar process to speaking about things. And it might be the first step to speaking, like writing your thoughts down.
Like you've said, I mean, there's so many kind of things you can do. You could do art, colouring is a big thing at the moment, isn't it? Where you're doing colouring. Maybe even things like if you're not working, even if you are working, volunteering.
Volunteering's a great one. Giving back to somebody else. A lot of time when people are struggling with mental health or they're struggling with grief, loss, what could be a loss of self, it's this usually a pattern of like, I've lost my purpose in life. And so volunteering, if you don't feel like you can work, it takes some of that pressure off you because you're just volunteering and it's more on your terms. But you're giving back and you kind of like, I'm feeling good.
I am worthy. Yeah, it gives you a purpose.
Purpose, a reason to get up. And even though it's still hard, don't get me wrong, it just you slowly start to build some of those positive things about yourself, that you are of value. You are of value to the world, to people, to others. Crying's another one, Cookie.
You know what? I totally agree with the crying. And when you're suffering with your mental health, the crying, it's like a release, isn't it? And I can only explain it as it's a deep cry.
Deep, isn't it?
That's how I explain it, and it's a release, isn't it?
It's a place of sorrow.
I think as well, a friend of mine, her dad passed away earlier in the year. And we was talking, and I said, look, give yourself time to cry.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to break down.
Yeah.
But don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah. And that's a hard one as well, Cookie, because we do beat ourselves up. And again, there's so many different things there that we could talk about. We haven't got time to do it all today, but, you know.
Don't worry, Jen. I'll have you back. You'll be coming back.
There's that strength, isn't there? There's that social society, the pressures of even, you know, men and women, the pressures men get. Boys don't cry, you have to be strong. Messages we get, all, you know, men and women. You have to put a brave face on, be strong for your sibling, or, you know, and so we internalise them messages, and then that's what we start to believe. And so then we're like, oh, I can't possibly cry, because then that means I'm weak. And actually, it takes a lot of courage and bravery to cry.
Yeah.
It takes so much.
I totally agree. Because when you cry, you're releasing all that stress and all that tension. But when you cry, you're at your most vulnerable.
You are at your most vulnerable, and that's nothing anybody wants to face.
Yeah.
If you're honest, everybody will say, I don't want to be vulnerable, because it's not a pleasant feeling. Yeah. But actually, I don't know whether you've ever kind of gone there, and I'm sure you have, but when you're vulnerable, so many things open up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you start to learn about yourself, and so do others, and things become easier, and you relate better. Yeah. And, you feel stronger. You actually feel stronger.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's
crying.
A strength. Yeah, there's a strength in being vulnerable.
There is massive strength, and it's human. It's a human trait to be vulnerable. It's necessary. It's actually necessary to be vulnerable.
I mean, we could go on for an hour just talking about this.
We could.
I
just wanted to say there, Cookie, about crying as well. Just something that's really kind of, when I learned about it, I was like, oh yeah, you know, you said about releasing stress. It releases dopamine and oxytocin and endorphins. So when you said it's a release, a lot of people say, I hate crying, but actually after it, when we reflect, it's like, actually I felt not recovered, but I felt better. Yeah. And that's why, because it's positive endorphins that it releases. But yeah, it can also make you feel in an exhausted state as well afterwards. And sorry, I just thought that's really useful, because not everybody. It's
great information. Sadly, we will be coming to the end of our chat in a bit, but are you going to come back? You've got to come back.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah,
you've got to come back on Cooking Conversation again. Where could people get you on your social medias?
So I am on. I'm on Counselling Directory, which is a great portal, because again, I don't want to just sell myself. Like I said at the beginning, it's about finding the right therapist,
counsellor for you.
And so there's a little biography that says, you know, kind of a little bit about the counsellor, and you can read what they do, and because there's different modalities, and some will fit and some won't. But it's a great platform to find a counsellor. So yeah, I'm on there as Jenny Blake, JLB Counselling Therapist, and I also have my own website, JLB Counsellor Therapist.com. You can find that, or .co.uk. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to reach out. But yeah, it's about finding the right person for you as well, and again, it's about attending to you.
Yeah, definitely. I was doing a little bit of reading up on depression and that, and I wasn't surprised, but 1 in 4 people this year would have suffered some form of mental health issue.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's real, and we again, stereotype, but we don't talk about this stuff, and it really does need to be spoke about so that people don't feel alone. That's the importance of this show today. You're not alone. You're not alone in this.
I'll be watching everything we've kind of talked about. There's loads of groups, numbers. You'll be able to find them on Mood's social platforms. There's plenty of help out there.
Yeah, and free services too, Cooker. Free services as well. Samaritans, Papyrus, food banks as well if you're struggling.
Yeah, we're going to get as much information for you, and we're going to put it all over our socials. And this part of it is, for me, sometimes people don't want to admit they're having an issue.
Yeah.
And so for somebody to click on a link, I know how hard it would be, but I'm hoping you will.
Yeah, and there's another good one there as well if you do struggle with that. It's Shout. It's a text service. So if you're scared of picking the phone up, there's one there that you can just text, and you've got someone you can speak to via message as well. Yeah,
that's brilliant. 'Cause sometimes people don't want to talk, do you?
Yeah.
And this day and age, texting is a thing, isn't it? But we will put them all out on the socials, and I'm definitely going to have you back in the new year, Jem.
Yeah,
and we'll touch on different subjects, and the subjects that are thought-provoking as well.
Yeah.
Do you know? It's not a simple mental health. There's so many parts of mental health. You've got stress, you've got anxiety. Them alone are two different subjects.
Be useful, Cookie, as well for people to just maybe put on what they'd like to hear about, or what they might want some more information
I'll put it out, and we will talk about it.
Yeah, sounds good.
But it's a thing that needs discussing. It needs to be out in the open. Men and women, children, are all suffering. And if we can help in any way, that's what we're going to do, isn't it, Jem?
Yeah, definitely.
Even if it's if one person gets a little bit of help or feels not as alone today, that's our job done.
Yeah. And that's why I do my job. Why I do my job.
Thank you for coming in as my guest on Cookie in Conversation. Have a fantastic Christmas and New Year. And
you too, Cookie.
And I will see you in the new year.
You certainly will.
1,000 thank yous.
I'm looking forward to some self-care while I'm off, and doing some of those nice things for me as well. But I'll see you in the new year. All the best as well.
1,000 thank yous for taking the time out of your busy life. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Take care.
We are online 24 hours a day, playing music for every mood. It's all about moods as we move.